Welcome to Goddess Behavior, the podcast where ancient myths meets modern main character energy.
We're your hosts, Steph and Laura.
No textbooks, just great stories, hot takes, and some unhinged ancient audacity.
So pour a drink, fix your crown, and step into your mythic era.
This is Goddess Behavior. All right.
Here we are.
So, the cities beneath the sea.
Going underwater.
Yeah, I think because we did water signs, we're like, let's just keep it rolling with all the water content. So, mermaids and now the lost cities.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot.
Imagine you're standing on the shore looking out at the ocean. Beneath the waves could be shipwrecks, coral reefs, and miles of empty sea floor. But what if there was something else? There was a city more advanced than any civilization in history. A kingdom swallowed in a night. A place of towering temples covered in gold, brilliant rulers, impossible engineering, and knowledge that vanished beneath the waves before history could record it.
For thousands of years, people have searched for Atlantis. Expeditions have claimed to find it. Documentaries have promised to reveal it. Entire books have been written trying to prove it was real. Whether Atlantis actually existed has become one of history's greatest mysteries. But Atlantis isn't the only lost city. Across Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas, cultures tell stories about kingdoms that have disappeared beneath the seas.
There are cities whose church bells are said to ring from the ocean floor, ancient lands overwhelmed by rising tides, floods sent by angry gods, entire civilizations remembered only through myth. Some of these stories may preserve memories of real disasters. Others are moral lessons about pride, greed, or for the fragile nature of human power. And some may simply reflect a universal fear that everything we've built can one day disappear. Because if there's one thing humans have always understood, it's that water gives life and water can take it away just as easy. So today we're diving beneath the waves to explore Atlantis, Cantre'r Gwaelod, and the flood myths that appear in cultures around the world. And we're asking a question that's much bigger than whether Atlantis was ever real.
Yeah.
What happens when mythology remembers a flood? What truths survive after civilization is gone? And why humans have never stopped imagining worlds beneath the sea.
Yeah. So why do we tell these stories about lost worlds?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, it's very similar to what we've seen in several of our other episodes at this point, is people tell stories to explain
things
the
we don't
unexplainable.
know. Yeah, for sure.
So humans are afraid of losing their home, losing their culture, their history.
Right.
These natural disasters that they're like, whoa, like where did this even come from?
Yeah, and it would just wipe everything out.
Yeah.
So that is a real fear, and I can see how they're like, oh, this is how we explain where it goes. Like it goes under the ocean after a flood, right?
And the water also would destroy any evidence of that too.
True.
So it just is.
Yeah, I mean, like in a forest, you would leave a stump behind. Like there would be evidence, right? Or a battlefield would have bones in it. The sea swallows everything. So it completely wipes out
like there was nothing
the whole
there.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's intimidating, and it makes it a really, like for us, it's this setting of forgotten civilizations. Maybe it's looked at as a punishment, right?
Or divine punishment, or the disappearing of knowledge, like
knowledge
being
becoming lost,
disappeared. Yeah, and maybe like a nostalgia for a golden age of time, right? It's very easy to see why people would put that in the ocean. Like the water just destroys everything,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think also back then it's not like a dive team would just go down and search for what was lost. Yeah. Like they really didn't have
the capability of that.
To do that for much of their history.
True.
So it really was this vast unknown that it would take things that they could never get back.
Right. Like a definite ending.
I mean, things, peoples, cities.
Yes.
So
yeah, exactly. So why do we tell stories about lost worlds?
I mean, I think that these stories at their core are not really about the cities themselves. They're about loss.
Yeah.
And sort of maybe grieving that loss.
Yeah. Again, fearing of losing all of what they hold to be treasure in their culture. their
valued.
homes,
Mm-hmm.
history. And I think as humans, we all want to be remembered
Yeah.
for something.
A legacy, if
A
you will.
legacy, yeah. And these stories help explain why that's so important, or what happens if it's not taken care of, I
Preserved,
guess.
yeah.
And that everything that we when I say we, I mean a culture in general, like
Yeah.
holds to be like sacred or important, can be very easily taken
Just
away.
as,
Yeah.
easily lost. Mm-hmm. I mean, another piece of this to me is that um, context
Yes.
is that our lands were once all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my head, right off the bat, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure cities really did get
Oh
lost
yeah,
beneath the
definitely.
waves.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was a lot of like, wait a second, why is this happening?
Yeah, and I think even before maybe there were established cities, you just have like land completely changing from what it used to be, and that's why you have like the dinosaurs getting wiped out in one area because
Yeah.
that's when the plates start moving, and then your climate changes, and you have the desert the bottom of the ocean becomes the desert, or
Yeah.
um the other way around.
Your geography is just completely
Yeah.
shifting.
And then everything that once was there is now not there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the sea doesn't just destroy, it conceals
Mhm.
too. So it smooths over the evidence per se,
Yes.
right? It buries cities beneath layers of sand and sediment. It erases coastlines, it swallows buildings, and turns human history into something almost impossible to recover.
Yeah. I mean, even
Once,
now, to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, a tsunami
It's
is
hard
bad.
to,
Yeah.
water is not easy to clean
Yeah.
up.
And once something disappears beneath the water, it feels as though it belongs to another world, even
Yeah, true.
belongs somewhere else.
Yeah, like we said last week, the ocean is so vast and undiscovered that it's like it really does feel lost completely. Like
Yeah.
it's gone to somewhere new
You're like,
realm.
well,
Yeah. Um Right, so that makes the ocean a perfect setting for mythology. It's where we place forgotten civilizations that no one can prove or disprove. It's where gods punish kingdoms that have become too proud, and it's where ancient knowledge waits to be rediscovered by the worthy. And it's where we imagine golden ages that ended before they even could begin.
and you'll notice many of these stories follow a similar pattern. A kingdom becomes prosperous. Its people grow arrogant or forget their values that helped them succeed along the way.
Mhm.
And then a flood comes, something as in like an act of divine judgment, sometimes as an unstoppable force of nature. The city disappears, but the story survives. Because that's the real purpose of these myths. They're not just trying to explain what happened to a lost city, they're trying to answer a much more human question: what deserves to be remembered?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, my mind keeps going just to history in general. We see patterns in history, and it's interesting that these myths pop up in a way that is more fictional because we have the actual history examples.
Yeah.
So to have something uncontrollable take it out is an interesting thing, or take out a civilization.
Yeah.
That seems an interesting way to go about it. Like something they can't control, or it's inevitable, or it's destiny, if you will.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was doomed, in a way, makes it seem like,
There's
again, there's
another
the
force at
outside.
play.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
outside forces, which maybe it's just the ocean itself is the outside force.
Right. To me, I always go back to this like sense of mutual respect that should happen with water.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I mean, I think we'll touch into some of that as we go into
Yeah,
these stories, but I think the ocean in particular is an entity that
yeah,
requires respect.
yeah, and like a power balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the obvious place to start is Atlantis.
And that's the one most people have heard of, or
I think that's the first one that
90s
anybody's gonna.
kids, you've seen the movie.
Oh, so good. Milo.
Yeah. I mean, and while the Book of Shepherds is not a real book,
No, yeah.
it's not really even based on a real book.
No. Yeah.
Um,
much like any of Disney, it's not really based on
Yes.
facts. It's its own story. It's fictional.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
The Disney version is very much fictional.
Yeah.
But it gives you at least you've heard the
It gives you
of the city.
some. It's again like some of the ideas thrown in there are definitely.
Or your cruise ship has stopped in the Bahamas and you've seen
the Bermuda Triangle.
Atlantis, the resort.
That's where it is. It's in the Bermuda
Yeah.
Triangle.
Yeah.
That's what I've decided.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, that's my conspiracy theory brain coming back from last week. Yeah, I think it's hard not to go there when it's a mystery as to where it went, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much around if it existed, if Plato made it up,
Yeah.
if, like where it actually all came from.
Yeah.
That the sources are interesting
Yeah,
here.
definitely.
So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so speaking of Plato.
Yeah, Plato introduced Atlantis, not as legend, but for me, as political philosophy in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, it's a cautionary tale about imperial overreach.
Okay.
The Atlanteans were originally half divine, children of Poseidon and the mortal woman Cleito. They built a city of concentric rings on a sacred island with canals of red, white, and black stone and a temple to Poseidon at its center.
Okay.
But over generations, their divine nature diluted and they became mortal in their ambition. So when things like greed and expansionism and corruptions,
it starts
to take over there.
Yeah.
Zeus convened the gods and passed judgment. In a single day and night, Atlantis sank.
Oh, it's always Zeus's fault. Moving on.
He was like, no, this is getting out of control.
You guys need to go in timeout under the ocean.
Apparently. What Plato was actually doing here is creating a mythologized Athens,
Okay.
showing his readers what Athens could become if it abandoned virtue for empire. Atlantis isn't a memory, it's a warning written as a memory.
Okay.
The twist that defines the whole genre here is that Plato almost certainly invented it, and yet the story spread for
yeah, true.
over 2,000 years because it felt true in a way that only myths feel true.
I think it's also, again, tying back to like Greek is like classically studied. So it just has spread so much more more than other mythology lost cities would.
True.
It's kind of just like how we talked about the Greeks are just more well-known pantheon, if you will, than other mythologies. And I think this is a perfect example as to why. It's just because it's Greek.
Yeah. And I mean, also, I think the Greeks are very good at doing something that we value, which is providing law and order.
Yeah.
So to anything that is great and big and powerful, there has to be a check.
Yeah.
A balance, if you will.
Yeah.
And that was Zeus's way of checking Poseidon,
yeah,
honestly.
True.
So checking his brother.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about our country and it's a three-system government.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same in Greek mythology between Zeus,
brothers.
Yeah, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. So I'll let the audience fill in who they think is which in our government. But
it's fun.
Yeah.
But but it's interesting because we did mirror so much of our government onto this sort of model, this format.
Definitely. Yeah. The story of Atlantis comes from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, who wrote about it in 2 dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. According to Plato, Atlantis was a magnificent island civilization located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now know to be the Strait of Gibraltar, which is between Spain and Morocco, for those who don't know, in the Mediterranean. It was everything an ancient civilization could aspire to be. The Atlanteans were wealthy beyond imagination. Their cities were filled with grand architecture, intricate canals, fertile farmland, and temples covered in precious metals. They possessed a powerful military, sophisticated engineering, and a thriving empire. In many retellings, Atlantis has become associated with advanced technology, although Plato himself describes it as an extraordinarily prosperous and organized civilization rather than a futuristic one. More importantly, Atlantis was favored by the gods. The island was said to have been founded by Poseidon himself, who created it as a kingdom for his descendants. In the beginning, the Atlanteans were noble. They ruled with wisdom, respect for the divine order, and used their prosperity responsibly.
But that's not the version of Atlantis most people remember. Over time, Plato says the divine nature of the Atlanteans faded. Wealth became greed. Strength became domination. Success became arrogance. And they stopped living with moderation and began believing their power made them superior to everyone else. And that's when everything changed. The gods looked upon Atlantis and decided it had become corrupt. In a single catastrophic event, earthquakes, floods, and the sea itself, the island, disappeared beneath the ocean, taking its people, its cities, and its greatness with it. Whether Plato intended Atlantis as literal history or as a philosophical allegory is still debated today. Many scholars believe he created the story as a cautionary tale about Athens' power and the dangers of imperial ambition rather than as a record of a real civilization. Because at its heart, Atlantis isn't really a mystery story. It's a moral story. So this is also around the same time where the Romans were going everywhere.
Right.
So
he's probably seeing that and thinking, we better be careful.
yeah, I mean, I think
not in a judgmental way like that, but also maybe not.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a philosopher, so he's judgmental.
Yeah, he's judgmental. It's Plato. So.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I mean, I think that it was like his way of saying, like, we don't want to be greedy. We don't want.
Yeah, it's reflecting on something he's seeing in real time.
Yeah,
and making it into a let's not let Greece have this problem sort of thing.
Yeah, again, we're seeing the Greeks do something well. That, I mean, honestly, I admire about them a lot, actually, is they're very good with their checks and balances.
Yes. Yeah. Which is interesting because obviously they were a big empire, but nothing like the Romans. So you can see how the checks disappeared with the Romans. They got greedy.
Well, they got greedy. Yeah.
But yes.
I mean, they spread themselves very thin.
Yeah.
And then the great Roman Empire
did fall. It
fell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Atlantis myth revolves around themes that come up over and over in mythology, I think. Hubris, the belief that success makes you untouchable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you see that in gods all the time.
Yeah. Leaders.
Zeus.
Yep.
Corruption, how prosperity can slowly erode the values that it creates.
Yeah.
Zeus. Power without wisdom. Strength divorced from humility and responsibility. And the collapse of civilization, the reminder that no empire can last forever.
But yeah, no, that's how cities get lost.
Yeah,
that's how your culture
definitely
gets lost.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a uniquely Greek fear to have by any means.
And I think it's a relevant fear to have.
Yeah.
Because cultures are important.
Yeah. And I think every civilization eventually comes to the same question. Could we become the thing that destroys us? And it usually is from the inside. I
think one of the biggest misconceptions about Atlantis is that people treat it like it's a treasure hunt.
Like, where is it? Yeah.
And everyone
X marks the spot.
Yeah. I mean, was it in the Mediterranean, the Caribbean, Antarctica, somewhere in the Atlantic?
Yeah.
But I don't think geography is the point.
No.
I mean, which is sort of
Well, I'm just thinking, if it sank in the Strait of Gibraltar, wouldn't it be in the Mediterranean?
Yeah. In my mind,
my logical brain is like, why is it questioned where it is?
It's not a mystery.
Yeah, Atlantis isn't really about finding the city on the map. It's about recognizing a pattern in human behavior.
Yeah.
Every generation believes its civilization is the strongest, the smartest, the most advanced that's ever existed. It's a very American way of thinking about things.
I was going to say Roman, but yeah.
Yeah. We convince ourselves that success is proof of virtue and that if we're more powerful, we must be also right. But mythology has always challenged that assumption. The fall of Atlantis reminds us that the greatness isn't always measured by wealth, technology, or military strength. It's measured by character.
I think it's a tricky balance between wanting more and wanting to be like the best at things.
Yeah.
And remaining true to your like
Roots. Yeah.
roots and
Yeah.
culture
Yeah.
and not overstepping that.
Yeah, and I think that that's why it's important when we feel like things are going too far one direction, that we have these checks and balances where it helps us, like, ground us again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I'm not saying that's
No,
like an
definitely.
easy concept.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, mythology will definitely say that it's not an easy thing to do, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what Atlantis is trying to tell us.
This warning story.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if Atlantis was the world's most famous lost city, then Ys might be the most haunting. The legend becomes from Brittany in the northwestern part of France, a region with deep Celtic roots, where the sea has always shaped both daily life and mythology. Unlike Atlantis, which feels grand and philosophical, the story of Ys feels deeply personal. It's a tragedy about one city, one family, and one terrible choice.
Before we really get into the story,
Yeah.
we need to talk about what Ys was.
Okay.
Because Ys wasn't just a city, it was a proposition. An argument made in stone and water that human ambition, given enough love behind it, could hold back the sea itself.
Okay.
So it kind of takes it
Another step. Yeah.
So King Gradlon built it for his daughter that he just really couldn't refuse.
Okay.
So Brittany's coastline was treacherous, still is.
Yeah.
The tides were punishing the land already half swallowed by Atlantic weather.
Yep.
And Daoud, his brilliant and ungovernable daughter, wanted to live in that danger, not behind it, in it. So her father dredged the seafloor and built on reclaimed land and ringed it all with a great bronze gate that only his key, worn always against his skin on a chain around his neck, could open.
Wow. The city that rose was described in terms that have a particular fever of paradise. Towers that caught the last light, harbors busy with ships from every coast, a sophistication and beauty that made every other city in the known world look provincial. People came from across the Celtic world to see Ys. It was the standard. Paris, like Ys, is what they called Paris, and the comparison is not flattering to Paris.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, Ys was supposed to be the grandest city anyone had ever seen.
Hot take, I don't like Paris.
So Paris is not my favorite city in France. I like the south of France much more.
Or even just like the countryside in France is just wonderful.
I like Provence.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Paris has its charm.
I'm glad I've been, but
I think it's overrated.
Yeah, and it's not as easy to navigate as other large European cities.
Especially because of, well, the French.
I mean, je parle français.
Yeah,
it's a little easier
I don't.
but
and they don't like us.
And they don't like us, yeah.
Which is weird because they thought we were friends.
I mean, I will say, I think it's usually not as bad as people think.
No, it's
that
not.
It is.
I know it's not. I've met enough French people.
Yeah,
but it's funny.
But you have to at least try. If you don't, at least
I do try. I did. I remember because
they don't.
It does help.
They know. But anyway, so this is the first thing the myth wants you to understand. Ys was not merely great. Ys was the greatest thing humans had ever built. Probably a European lens being applied here.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Which means what follows isn't just tragedy. It's really a very large,
it's a big deal.
Loss. It's a big loss here. Yeah. The medieval Christian scribes who wrote down the legend of Ys made Dahout the villain of her own story. But the seams of that rewriting are visible if you know where to look. She basically becomes this pre-Christian sea goddess.
Yeah.
Whose domain was the liminal space between shore and deep water, a place that was sacred precisely because it belonged to neither world.
In the other substrate of the myth, before the church got to it, Dehut may have been worshipped. She may have been Ys. The city and its goddess were one, the way a place and its divine patron were understood to be inseparable in the old religion. The king builds the city, and the goddess is the city. But by the time the legend was recorded in medieval Brittany, Christianity had been the dominant religion for centuries, and so Dehut's story gets inverted. Everything that made her sacred becomes evidence of her corruption.
So her lovers, probably ritual consorts in an older version, a sacred king motif common across mythology, becomes a series of men she murders at dawn.
Okay.
Her connection to the old gods becomes devil worship.
Oh, so she's a witch.
Sea witch.
A sea witch. Oh.
Her power over the sea becomes recklessness, and her status as the keeper or embodiment of the city's gate, the liminal threshold between the human world and the divine depths, becomes the moment of catastrophic betrayal. She didn't open the gates because she was wicked. She opened the gates because, in the old story, she was the gate.
According to the legend, King Gradlon built the magnificent city of Ys for his beloved daughter, Princess Dehut. The city was unlike any other. It was unimaginably wealthy, filled with beautiful palaces, bustling markets, and magnificent churches. But there was one problem. Much of Ys sat below sea level. Sounds like New Orleans. That's what I think.
And much of Florida.
Yes. To protect it, enormous seawalls surrounded the city, and massive gates kept the sea at bay. The keys to those gates were so important that only King Gradlon possessed them. As long as the gates remained closed, the city was safe. Then came Dehut.
And depending on the version of the story, she's portrayed very differently. So some legends describe her as vain, reckless, indulgent, a princess who cared more about pleasure than responsibility.
Sure.
Others see her as a much more complicated figure, a woman refusing to conform to the expectations of Christian society. Later recast as a villain by medieval storytellers. At night, Dehut either stole the keys from her father or was tricked into taking them by a mysterious stranger, sometimes described as the devil in disguise. She opened the gates, and the sea came rushing in. The flood was immediate and unstoppable. The streets disappeared beneath the crashing waves. Homes, churches, and entire neighborhoods were swallowed by the ocean. King Gradlon escaped on horseback, carrying Dehut behind him, until a holy figure warned that the weight of her actions would drag them both under. In most versions, Dehut falls into the sea, where she either drowns or is transformed into a Morgan, a Breton water spirit or mermaid who forever haunts the coastline.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like she deserves to fall into the ocean if she did it because she's like snotty, but also if she did it because she was coerced, then I feel bad for her.
Well, I'm torn as to like whether she was just like living her life
as a princess and
then the rest of society was like, you're too much.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then she's punished for their label. I don't know.
Yeah. The holier than
medieval
thou people.
Christianity would be a rough time to be a female, so.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Yeah.
So the city of Ys vanished beneath the waves, but according to local legend, it never truly disappeared. People still say that on calm days, when the sea is perfectly still, you can still hear the church bells of Ys ringing beneath the water. It's one of those images that stays with you, an entire city gone, but not completely silent. I love it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I wish I had known that when I was there. I went to Normandy with like our family, so we kind of did all. Yeah. So I'm like, I kind of wish I knew about this. It's more of a fun story compared to the rest of it. The history for us is not great.
Well, it's just something to remember
Yeah.
up there about how rough and treacherous
Yeah,
that water there
exactly.
actually is.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
So before we leave Ys, there's one more piece of this myth that deserves its full weight. So Breton legend holds that when Ys rises, Paris will fall. Quand la ville de Ys le réveille, Paris sera engloutie. So when the city of Ys is raised again, Paris will be swallowed.
I'm so impressed by your French. Thinking about mythology being embedded in this is like so cool. I just love
Because Paris is I think the reason it is so renowned and well known and loved is it's the city of lights. It's the city of this like great enlightenment.
Yeah,
And
true.
there's so much decadence and culture. I mean, French culture
Yeah.
there that for it to have this prophecy of it falling as well.
Yeah.
I think it's just sort of the country's way of checking itself.
Again,
right?
yeah,
It's another
checking.
reminder of like this too can be temporary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it gets given all these accolades, like we were saying, but it's not the pinnacle of human existence.
Yeah.
Ys is, right?
Yeah.
So it's a consolation prize, if you will.
I mean, obviously, Paris is not on a coastline. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it has the river, but I don't know. It would be an interesting act of
Parisians would not like this story.
some type of outside entity for anything like Ys to happen to
Sure.
Paris.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
True. Yeah, it would have to be a crazy flood.
yeah, I also think Parisians are probably more afraid of fires now at this
Yes.
point than floods.
True. So the story of Ys explores themes that appear throughout mythology, but specifically the sea reclaiming what was borrowed, a reminder that humans can build incredible things, but nature still has the final say.
Yeah.
I think that's what is like the big takeaway from the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, he puts up these big walls, these big gates, and builds this elaborate, decadent city. And at the end of the day, it still wasn't enough when the sea decides
it's enough. It's enough.
enough.
Yeah. I think it also feels very modern, like this story compared to Atlantis.
Yeah.
Like Atlantis feels removed some way.
Yeah.
Less relatable, I guess,
More mythical, for sure.
Yeah. Ys reminds us of how fragile human achievements can be and how like very quickly it can shift from one country to the next or one civilization to the next. Yeah. We spend so much of our lives trying to control the world around us that Ys is a great example of how it very quickly can be taken away.
Yeah. And even when you put so much
effort and
into
engineering and everything
and
into it, there's not
doesn't
much you
matter.
can do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Again, it's something mythology does very well is remind humans that we're never in complete control.
Yeah, we're really not.
There's always
and that the sea's not evil, it's just the sea.
Yeah.
It just is doing what the sea does.
mutual respect.
Yep. Yep.
That was its space first.
Yeah, like
So.
respecting force is bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And that it's not actually malicious but indifferent to how you feel about it.
Your feelings towards the water do not change its day-to-day existence.
Nope,
So.
it doesn't. That's true.
And maybe that's why the image of those, like, the church bells still ringing under there seems so, like, unforgettable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even after the city is gone, the story, it's like an echo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I'm still here in its own way.
Because mythology suggests that while civilizations can disappear beneath the waves, memory has a way of floating back to the surface.
Yeah, I like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Water remembers.
The water remembers.
Oh.
So we're going to go back across the sea.
Yeah.
Or the channel.
The
channel.
Mm-hmm.
The English Channel. A very treacherous body of water, believe it or not. Have you been on the train?
I have. I love it.
I do
it's
too.
So cool.
It's really good.
I got my coffee and my croissant.
Yeah.
And I went from Paris to London.
I love it. Yeah, so we're going to go to Wales next.
Yeah.
Because there is a Welsh Atlantis.
There is.
And it's called Cantre'r Gwaelod.
Excellent.
I took a lot of practice, guys.
Seriously, someone teach us Welsh.
Someone be our Welsh teacher.
I want nothing more than to be able to properly
Speak
pronounce
Welsh
all of these
Gaelic.
things.
I know.
It bothers me so deeply.
It's very hard. So, the legend is set in Cardigan Bay. Throwback to Taylor. We love a cardigan. Along the west coast of Wales, where the local folklore says that an entire kingdom lies beneath the sea. According to the story, Cantre'r Gwaelod was an extraordinarily fertile and prosperous land. Rich farmland stretched across the coast. Villages flourished, and the kingdom was protected from the surrounding ocean by a network of dikes, embankments, and floodgates. As long as those defenses were maintained, the people were safe, but safety depended on vigilance. So, in most versions of this legend, a guardian named Seithenyn was responsible for watching over the floodgates. Depending on the telling, he became drunk, fell asleep, or simply just neglected his duty. Sure.
It was for sure the first one.
Was definitely drunk.
Yeah. Think about where they are.
He's Welsh. Yeah. In other versions, a maiden entrusted with the keys failed in her responsibility, so they blamed it on a woman.
Don't blame it on a woman.
Rude.
He was drunk.
He was drunk. He was a Welsh drunk man.
Much more likely
Definitely.
to have been the case.
Yes. Whatever the cause, the result was the same. The gates were left open. The tide rushed in. The sea flooded the kingdom, drowned farms, villages, and the homes beneath the waters of Cardigan Bay. An entire homeland disappeared, leaving only the memory of what existed. And like the legend of Ease, the story doesn't end with the flood. Welsh folklore says that on exceptionally calm days, when the water is still and the tide is low, you can hear the bells of Cantre'r Gwaelod ringing from beneath the sea. Whether anyone has ever heard them besides the point. But the bells symbolize the place is refusing to be forgotten.
Yeah. First of all, treacherous coastland. So
yeah.
I
don't. When is that ever calm? That area, like that North Sea in general, I feel like it's not. So the story of Cantre'r Gwaelod explores the themes that also feel like pretty timeless.
Yeah.
Responsibility, of somebody just doing their one job. Don't get drunk on the job.
One job. And then they're going to try to blame the woman.
Yep.
Negligence. So obviously, great disasters don't always just begin with poor intentions. Sometimes it's just human error.
It just happens. Yeah. Sometimes it's an accident. And the loss of homeland, the grief of watching the place you love disappear.
And the culture that goes along with it.
Right.
So I think the weight of
place
that
isn't just one thing.
It feels deep, honestly. And unlike Atlantis, this isn't a story about an empire becoming corrupt. It's about how fragile these civilizations could be.
Yeah. And how just a simple mistake can bring down a whole civilization. So one of the reasons folklorists find Cantre'r Gwaelod so fascinating is that stories like this often emerge in places with dramatic environmental change actually occurs.
Yeah.
So the coastline of Wales has changed significantly over thousands of years. Rising sea levels after the last ice age gradually submerged forests, settlements, and stretches of land that people once inhabited. Kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Even today, after powerful storms and unusually low tides, ancient submerged forests sometimes can be visible along the Welsh coastline. Tree stumps preserved beneath the sand, reminding people that the shoreline wasn't always where it is now.
Yeah.
Imagine living in a community where after every major storm, the sea seems to reveal a piece of another world. It's easy to understand how stories about drowned kingdoms might have grown from experiencing that. Whether Cantre'r Gwaelod describes one significant event or centuries of coastal flooding woven into one legend, it shows that folklore has often tried to preserve this emotional truth that changed over time, probably.
Yeah.
I guess what makes this story unique is that Cantre'r Gwaelod is shifting away from this divine punishment. Like there's nobody's...
the gods weren't punishing the city.
They didn't do anything wrong per se. It's just that a mistake was made and it cost them everything.
Actions have consequences.
Yeah.
This myth is again reminding us that civilizations aren't held together by grand gestures or heroic speeches, especially for the Welsh, right?
Yeah.
They're held together by people showing up every day and doing what's often invisible work
Yeah.
that keeps
True.
everybody safe,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
think that the Welsh have always been more tied to their land and that
Yeah.
invisible or the often unseen labors that
Yeah.
go along with all of that. So
Mhm.
this feels very Welsh.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Around the world, people
Yeah.
carry stories about ancestral homelands that have changed beyond recognition, whether through floods, war, migration, or time itself.
Yeah.
We don't just mourn buildings, we mourn landscapes, communities, and ways of life.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why the bells keep ringing in these stories, not because they're literally underwater, but because memory has a way of calling us back to places we've lost.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
And there have been a lot of these. I mean, we talked about this a little in the beginning about natural occurrences, or in
Yeah.
this case, we're going to go floods.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been many.
There have been many
Yeah.
throughout human existence.
Yeah.
And it does very similar things.
Yeah.
So
I mean, let's take Mesopotamia. Let's go all the way back.
all the way back, yeah.
So one of the oldest surviving flood stories came from ancient Mesopotamia in the Epic of Gilgamesh, written thousands of years before the Bible. The gods decided humanity had become too numerous and too noisy. I love that.
Fair.
Yeah. So they sent a catastrophic flood to wipe out civilization. But the god Ea secretly warned a man named Unapishtim, instructing him to build a massive boat, bring his family, craftsmen, and animals aboard. After the flood waters receded, he releases the birds to search for dry land and offers a sacrifice to the gods. As a reward, he and his wife are granted immortality. If parts of this story sound familiar, you're not imagining it. Many scholars believe it shares literary ancestry with later flood traditions.
I wonder where Noah got his ark idea.
Yeah. It's essentially Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
I don't know how you don't see it as Noah's. I mean, I think that it's hard probably for there not to be some overlap in some of these stories, but that's pretty crazy. That's a lot of overlap.
Of course they got it from somewhere else.
Yeah, sure.
So again, I think whether I like it or not, that perhaps the most widely recognized flood story today is the biblical account of Noah's Ark, where God sees that humanity has become corrupt and violent and decides to cleanse the earth through a great flood.
Yep.
Gonna sound exactly like what we just said. So he tells Noah to build an ark and bring his family and pairs of every kind of animal. So after 40 days and 40 nights of rain, the waters eventually recede. Noah releases first a raven and then a dove, which return carrying an olive leaf, a symbol that dry land has reappeared, and life can begin again. The story ends not with destruction, but with a covenant between God and what's left of humanity.
Literally Noah and his family.
By a rainbow.
Yeah, sure. Greek mythology also begins again with a flood. When Zeus becomes disgusted by humanity's violence and corruption, he decides to destroy the world with a great deluge. Only Deucalion, the son of Prometheus, and his wife Pyrrha survive by building a chest or a small ark,
of course,
and floating safely until the waters recede. Afterwards, they ask the goddess Themis.
So in Greek mythology, Themis is a goddess and personification of justice, divine order, law, and custom. She's part of the 12 original Titan children.
Makes sense.
Like, so she's a sister of Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just makes of like Gaia. Yeah. Who we talked about last episode.
Yes.
Yeah, so they ask the goddess Themis how humanity can be restored. She told them to throw the bones of your mother behind you. Realizing that their mother means Mother Earth, they should throw stones over their shoulder. The stones Deucalion throws become men, and while Pyrrha become women, symbolizing humanity's rebirth from the earth itself. It's an ancient people's way of explaining how people came about after something catastrophic.
Norse mythology gives us a flood unlike any other. There is no rainstorm and no overflowing ocean. Instead, after Odin and his brothers kill the primordial giant Ymir, so much blood pours from his body that it becomes a flood, drowning nearly every frost giant in existence. Only Bergelmir and his wife survive by escaping on what is sometimes described as a wooden box or hollowed tree trunk. From them, the race of frost giants continues into the New World. It is a reminder that in Norse mythology, creation and destruction are inseparable. A new world is literally built from the remains of the old one.
Yeah, it's very Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Cyclical. We also see these flood myths come up in the indigenous stories, like we talked about with Turtle Island and creation story. So, yeah, it just comes up many places,
These flood
right?
stories come up everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it all sort of has a pretty similar theme.
Yeah. One world ends and one begins, essentially.
I mean, a way to think about floods, especially when there are so many of these stories, is the flood is not simply an ending. It is looked at here as the beginning of this sort of new relationship between humans, animals, and the earth.
Yeah. Why do we find these myths, these flood myths everywhere?
I mean, humans live near water. Humans have always gravitated towards water. It's needed for crops, survival, in general. I mean,
and I think it's also this like ancient memories, right? Memory, as we know, changes over time when we are telling these stories, but the flood myths explain why pieces get forgotten, right? Or certain
or why
parts
there might
of history,
be a gap.
or what, right? So I think that that's part of why we see them in different places, because this idea of water erasing everything is just it's a common idea that goes everywhere.
It's well, I don't know. I guess it's not good to look at it as bad. I mean, I think everything that is played out in our world this far is
there's a reason for it.
There's a reason for it. Yeah. But that these events happened on almost every coastline.
Yeah. And I think of this, like the symbology of it being like rebirth, right?
And starting anew.
That like just because it's devastating doesn't mean that there isn't good at the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cyclical nature of things. Mythology doesn't promise that we'll avoid these types of moments, right? It promises that people have survived them before.
Right.
That's why nearly every flood story ends with rebuilding and starting anew rather than despair.
There's no hero in a flood, right?
Yeah.
The person just keeps building again after the water recedes, right? And maybe that's the lesson that they've been carrying, right? No matter how completely the world changes, humanity always begins again.
Yep.
So, as we talked about at the beginning, pop culture loves a lost city.
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, Atlantis, the Lost Empire, 2001 is one that we think of immediately, right?
Yeah, hard not to. And the imagery that comes with that movie, it's really cool.
It is.
I think the idea that Atlantis could have been that technologically advanced is interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like a culture frozen in time under the water, right? So because of its isolation, that it would be advanced, but also backwards or hidden in some way. Backwards meaning like behind evolution.
Time-wise,
so like example, like their clothing would be considered more quote unquote primitive compared to the technology. So like you have gaps and spaces between things. It's just interesting.
It is.
And then you have Aquaman. Aquaman has Atlantis in it, or an idea of
like
Atlantis,
his mom,
right?
is
Atlantean.
Atlantis.
Little Mermaid, like we talked about before last episode.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning of the movie, you see King Triton
ruling over this essentially Atlantis,
large underwater city.
Exactly. And Moana, maybe it's not a lost city, but like this idea of preserving cultural memory with the land and the
And
place that
respecting the
ocean.
land and the water.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I think that
It might not be the obvious one, but I think it definitely has ties to that part
Yeah.
of it.
And especially when your day-to-day existence so depends on the sea.
Yeah. So we, of course, couldn't talk about
Underwater cities.
without talking about the city beneath the city.
And of course, we have to go back to Sarah J. Maas
Yes.
and Crescent City.
Yes.
The
House of Many Waters and the Blue Court.
Our heads
immediately.
Literally immediately, we were like, oh, you know who's underwater?
Yeah. Therion.
Who actually is really one of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
I do
like him too. I think he gets a bad, I don't know. I guess people don't, not that people don't like him. They just think there's,
he just is under, I don't know. I guess under
a lot of pressure, actually.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally.
See what you did there.
Yeah, anyway, so Lunathian or Crescent City is built around a river.
The Istros.
The Istros, yeah. It curves through the city in a crescent shape so distinctive that it gives the city its name. It is the geographic heart of the world that SJM built. Every quadrant in the city orients itself around it. The old river gate is a major plot point location. The bone quarter of the dead sits near its banks. The Istros connects the merfolk realms to the city above. But here is what the books make clear almost immediately, that the river isn't just a river, it's a threshold.
Because below the Istros, beneath the city that Bryce Quinlan parties in, beneath the neon and the politics and the Asteries boot on everyone's neck, there is another city entirely.
Yeah.
The Blue Court.
Yeah.
And almost nobody from the surface has ever seen it.
Which is like, we have so many things that we haven't learned about it at all, really, other than what we, like the little bit that we've been giving. And it really kind of reflects our relationship with our own ocean, I was just thinking. But it leaves a lot of mystery still.
Which we would love to dive into. But
we definitely could, but that will be a different episode.
Have to be a whole different episode. This is the submerged city, myth in the bones of an urban fantasy. Regardless of whether Atlantis was a direct inspiration, Crescent City draws from one of mythology's oldest narrative structures. Sarah J. Maas reached for the oldest shape of a story humans know how to tell: the world above, the world below, and the terrible beauty of everything that lives between.
Yep. So the House of Many Waters is a taxonomy of the deep. So before we talk about what the Blue Court means, we have to talk about what it contains, because SJM's world building here is doing some seriously mythologically heavy lifting.
Yeah.
In fact, there is so much mythology in Crescent City that in itself is a whole episode.
Truly.
Or more, to be honest. I think we can get into it.
Depends on how long you want to listen to.
Yes, to us ramble on about it. Yeah, so the House of Many Waters is one of 4 houses of Midgard. And its members include river spirits, mer, water beasts, nymphs, kelpies, nox, sobex, and selkies.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about those last week.
We have definitely talked about them before. We talked about selkies, straight from Celtic and Norse tradition, seal folk that shed their skin and walk on land, and always have a longing for the sea. They are the myth of a person who is longing to be part of both worlds and never fully at home in either. Kelpies, Scottish water horses, shapeshifters who lurk at the river crossing and drag the unwary under. The dangerous beauty of a liminal place made into flesh.
Yeah. And Nox, I don't think we talked about Nox.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. So Nox are Scandinavian water spirits, often appearing as beautiful musicians playing at the water's edge. They lure, they enchant, they pull you toward the threshold between your world and theirs.
They're bards.
Basically.
Yeah.
With a little hint of danger at the end.
Spooky bards. Nymphs, so Greek and Roman water spirits attached to specific rivers, springs, and seas, the divine personification of particular bodies of water, not just creatures who live in it, but they are the water themselves.
And then Sobex, so named for Sobek, the Egyptian crocodile god, lord of the Nile's dangerous abundance, a god of fertility and protection who was also capable of devouring you.
Crocodile. Yeah.
Checks.
So river spirits and myrrh, the broadest category encompassing countless traditions from all over the world. I mean, merfolk in general,
Yeah.
right?
And we see all of these. So what Sarah J. Maas has done, whether deliberate or not, is collect every creature tradition that lives on the threshold between the human world and the water world,
Yeah.
and put them all in the same house.
Yeah,
The house of many waters.
Yeah. It's not just a political faction in a fantasy novel. It's a mythology archive. It is every story humans have ever told about what lives beneath the surface, organized into a single society with a queen. So, speaking of this queen, the Blue Court.
The submerged city. So the river folk were notoriously secretive. Their city beneath the surface, the Blue Court, a place few who dwelled on land would ever see. One glass sub went in and out per day, and those on it traveled by invitation only.
Yeah, one sub per day by invitation only. So you're an exclusive club if you get to go see it, right?
So the queen either allows you or she does not.
Right. This is the mythology of the drowned city updated for urban fantasy, and the detail that makes it sing is the glass submarine. It's the modern equivalent of the fishing net that accidentally dredged up a gold cup from Ys, or the sailor who glimpses towers through the water on a clear day.
Yeah, I mean, and you can only get there to that underwater world if it
wants
decides
to,
you can be there.
Yeah, exactly. The Blue Court operates on its own laws, its own hierarchy, and its own political logic. The mer could shift into fully human bodies for short periods of time, but if they went too long, the shift would be permanent, their scales drying up and flaking away into dust, their gills shrinking into nothing.
This is the Selkie myth, inverted and weaponized. In the old stories, the Selkie risks losing her sealskin, her true form, her connection to the water. JM gives her mer the same rule and frames it as a biological fact rather than a fairy tale consequence.
Yeah, I love how she does that because, I just remember Therion, running around being like, I gotta get back to the water.
He's, trying to do research and it's like, I'm almost out of time.
Yeah. No, I know. It's so funny. The mythology becomes physiology. The stakes remain the same. To live too long in one world, you lose the ability to return to the world below. The threshold can only be crossed so many times before it becomes closed.
If the Blue Court is the submerged city, then Therion is its most mythologically interesting inhabitant because he is the figure who lives at the threshold.
Yeah, Therion is charming, funny, and confident. He deserves a better world, free from hierarchies and power imbalances of power. Therion loves just about everything above, but nothing is greater than his love for what he feels like to be in the water.
Yeah, I think we see this because he is literally...
He's so torn.
He wants to stay and he wants to continue digging into things on land, but...
he wants to be part of it, but he can't.
He never wants to fully commit to that life.
Yeah.
He still is
I think that's why people have such a hard time with him, to be honest, because he's very wishy-washy, if you will.
I mean, yeah.
In the sense of he can't figure it out himself, not because he doesn't want to commit in a negative way, but I think it's hard for people to understand, why are you having such a hard time committing when you're, you as a reader are invested in the people above,
True.
But we don't know the other side of it, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
This is the exact emotional structure of the Selkie myth, and the exact ache of Dahut, who built the most beautiful city in the world on reclaimed sea and still couldn't stop the tide from calling. The person who belongs to two realms is therefore never fully home in either one, is one of the oldest figures in mythology.
And Therion embodies it with
Yeah.
the specific texture of our sort of 21st century man,
Yeah.
who is also technically a merman with copper scaled fins and hydrokinetic powers.
Right. Yeah, I mean, his arc throughout the trilogy is an arc of someone who keeps trying to live in the world above, to be useful on land, to care about the politics of the surface, and to have relationships with the people who walk and breathe air, while his fundamental nature keeps pulling him back underneath.
Yep.
The obligations he accumulates in both worlds trap him. He promises the River Queen's daughter the loyalty to Bryce and the rebellion. He is claimed by two different jurisdictions of existence. This sounds very tiring.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting that he really doesn't butt heads with the queen either.
No,
He goes with it.
yeah.
He might not always like it, but he does go with it.
True. When Micah opened the portals to hell through the city gates, Therion ordered his people to go to the surface and brings as many people below the water in order to save them from the demons.
Yeah.
So he's like a hero. Like, again, I think he's undervalued in the series.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the moment. I mean, when the world above is being destroyed and the world below opens its gates and offers shelter.
Yeah.
The submerged city, the secret, sovereign, pretty much inaccessible.
Yeah.
Like only exclusively are you accessing this world otherwise, becomes the arc.
Yeah.
That threshold becomes the arc.
Yeah, the blue court becomes like the mountain peak that the flood survivors reach, which is funny because it's the opposite.
It's literally under
Yeah. The water, which is a great agent of destruction in flood myths, becomes a place of safety. SJM flips it on its axis. The flood doesn't destroy the city. Flood is the city and is trying to save you.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So it's like, in my mind, it's more like taking the myth one step further.
Yeah.
So not only is that city down there, but that city is
better off than we are, essentially. Yeah.
And is even a place of refuge.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool.
It's like returning back.
Right.
It's the other end of the circle.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I like that. So the River Queen, the goddess beneath the water.
So she seldom deigns to leave the Istros River.
Right.
And she is part Mer, part river spirit. And she is ancient in the way that only the truly divine are ancient, not just old, but prior.
So she's feeling primordial.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the best word we're going to have to describe her because she's before the Asteri.
Right.
And before like Midgard's
that feels very
existing political structure.
If you had to parallel it to myth, that's what you would say.
She's primordial. Yeah.
The River Queen, along with her sisters, the Ocean Queen, considers the Asteri invaders and conquerors. And as the Mer is one of the original races of Midgard, she cannot defy the Asteri openly. So instead, she quietly rebels against their rule in secret, providing assistance to various rebels to oppose them.
Yeah.
She is the Dahoot of the deep, still tending her city.
She is the goddess who was pushed into the water when a new power structure rose on the surface.
Right.
So instead of the goddess, I don't want to say cowering.
Flipped. Yeah.
She creates her own world down there and just goes with it.
She just stays down there.
It's like, it's actually better down here.
Yeah. It's like the opposite of Ariel. No, I'm going to stay. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys are.
Yeah. I don't know what you're doing.
You guys are politically corrupt. And
Yep.
I'm going to build my own system down here.
Yeah. She's kind of like biding her time instead of fully submitting to what's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
But still like subtly aiding the rebellion that's happening.
Yep.
Above surface.
Yeah, exactly. The Asteri rule the land and sky, the River Queen rules the river, and the Ocean Queen rules the sea. And the myth the series is quietly telling is the same myth Ys was telling. The old powers were not destroyed when the new order rose. They just went under. They're still there, and they're still waiting.
Yeah. So here, it's not, they weren't lost. they just are kind of like like
They just kind of decided, okay, you guys take over. I'm going to wait over here until you are till something else starts rumbling, which is kind of what she does. She kind of is like, okay, now I hear rebellion happening. I'm going to help the rebellion without outwardly defying the Asteri.
I would love that story.
Uh-huh.
That primordial, I guess, before the
I
Asteri
want all the prequel stories, to be honest with you. I just need more information.
I want to know how she ends up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's something that I hope we get.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So, which actually would tie really well into my theory.
Yes.
Which
is a very good theory, but
we won't get into.
We don't have time.
Yep. So Ogenes is the goddess of the sea and the sister of Chthona, presiding over the House of Many Waters. She is the divine architect behind the River Queen's sovereignty and the mythological bedrock that the entire underwater world rests on. A sea goddess who is also a sister goddess. The ocean is a feminine divine principle.
Which I fully buy. The ocean as a feminine.
Yes. Yeah. Ancient and patient, present beneath every political structure that has ever tried to claim authority over water.
And water is tied to the moon.
Yes.
And so in my head, it's actually
female.
A feminine force.
Yeah, I agree. So Ogenes functions much like ancient sea deities such as Tethys or Pontus. She isn't merely the goddess of the ocean. She represents the ocean as an ancient sovereign force that predates kingdoms and empires. Like many primordial sea deities in mythology, she reminds us that political powers rise and fall, but the water remains.
The Asteri can rule Midgard, but they cannot rule the river.
Yeah.
The River Queen has been there longer than them, and she will be there after them.
Yeah.
Because I think,
again, this primordial idea.
Yeah,
for sure.
of like an inevitable entity.
Yeah. So SJM's Crescent City does something that most pop culture engagements with underwater mythology don't do. It takes the political dimensions of the submerged world seriously. The Blue Court isn't just aesthetically beautiful. It isn't just a cool world-building detail. It's a parallel power structure that exists outside of the reach of the dominant regime. The House of Many Waters stands apart from the Asteri's control.
The submerged city in this reading is not a lost paradise. It is a preserved one. A world that went underground rather than be absorbed. A civilization that chose the river bottom over submission.
Yeah, they've kind of, I like preserved because I feel like that's a good way to, they've like taken themselves away to maintain their
who they are
identity.
This maps directly onto the mythological logic of every drowned kingdom whose bells still ring. The world beneath the water kept going. It just kept going somewhere else. Somewhere the new order couldn't reach. Somewhere that required a glass submarine and a personal invitation to access.
Yeah.
The Blue Court isn't a civilization that disappeared. It's a civilization that chose not to disappear.
Right.
It withdrew beneath the surface, preserving its identity instead of surrendering it. That's what makes it such a compelling modern version of the Lost City myth. It isn't just hidden from the world, it's protecting a history the surface has forgotten. In a series obsessed with memory, archives, and the stories that survive conquest, the Blue Court becomes a living reminder that sometimes the greatest act of resistance isn't fighting to stay on top. It's preserving who you are beneath the surface until the world is ready to remember you again.
Cancer vibes.
It is. Yeah.
It's preserving. It's retreating when they know it's better to do that than fight.
Strategic. It's strategic.
Yeah.
Therion's Cancer. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that would make sense. And Therion, perpetually caught between the surface world's rebellion and the deep water's obligations, is a figure who makes this threshold visible. He is the character that keeps reminding us every time he dives back into the Istros that there is a whole other city down there, running on different rules, operating under a different queen, older than everything else above.
That's the biggest difference between Atlantis and the Blue Court.
Yeah.
Atlantis is a civilization humanity is forever searching for.
Yeah.
The Blue Court never disappeared. It just simply chose to remain hidden.
Yeah.
And so again, she's flipping this myth. And instead of asking, what if the lost city could be found? She asks, what if it never wanted to be found in the first place?
That's a good theory for even Atlantis, to be honest. What if it just doesn't? Well, again, we don't know what's going on in the ocean, most of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So what if it is there?
It's
Could be.
interesting because if they were that technologically
They
advanced,
probably could shield themselves in a way.
they're just like Wakanda.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like completely just barriered where they wouldn't be able to be seen.
In
But the
peace.
ocean makes it easy to do that. You don't even really need one.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So Atlantis is still being discussed more than 2,000 years after Plato first wrote about it. People still tell stories about the bells of Ease and Cantre'r Gwaelod ringing beneath the sea. Flood myths continue to be retold nearly every corner of the world. And the cities may have been swallowed, but the stories haven't. Every sunken city myth asks the same question. If our world disappeared tomorrow, what would survive? Would it be the buildings, the technology, the wealth, or would it be the stories people continued telling long after everything else was gone?
I think mythology gives us its answer.
Yeah.
Stories are often the last thing to sink. So long after stone has crumbled, long after maps have changed and civilizations have faded into history, people still gather around tables, campfires, classrooms, and microphones to tell the same stories again.
Yeah. Maybe that's why these stories have survived for thousands of years. Not because it preserves every historical fact, but it preserves what people believe is worth remembering. And maybe that's the real lesson of Atlantis.
Yeah, not that somewhere beneath the ocean there's this lost city waiting to be found, but that the greatest civilizations aren't the ones that leave behind the biggest monuments. They're the ones that leave behind stories people still feel compelled to tell.
Yeah. So, are there any ones that we've missed? I would love to hear from our audience.
Sunken cities. I think.
I mean, there are a couple more, but obviously we had a lot to talk about, so I think we had to pick and choose. So
yeah, I mean,
are there...
with any episode for us, is that we're picking and choosing here, but
I would love to hear if anybody has any other ones.
Yeah,
or
and also, what do we think as a consensus? Are we believing Atlantis existed? Are we skeptical, or are we hard like, no, that never existed, that never happened? I don't know.
It's hard to say if they're as technically advanced as Plato thinks. It's not impossible to me, but
yeah,
I also, like, logically, I have a hard time with it.
But I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not fully discrediting it. I also am just very like
I said, the conspiracy theory in me is like, theorist in me is kind of
I'm into the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if it did exist, I'm very cool with that.
Yeah. There, like I said, a lot of this,
I like it.
A lot of this ocean, like the ocean hasn't been explored, so it's not out of
the realm of possibility.
It's not completely ruled out, but I also am like, chances are probably not real.
Would it be cool if there was a city like Wakanda?
Very cool.
Under water?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't bother me.
It just makes I just also think it like could also be a Sandy Cheeks situation.
The dome.
Like a dome. Yeah. Like
where
a glass
you would
dome.
Just like someone be swimming and then run into a glass wall.
Kind of.
Like,
yeah. Or I mean, same with like
happening?
I can see that as the beginning of like the Atlantis movie, like where there's like a scuba diver and they like hit the barrier.
Yeah. And you're like, wait.
Yeah. Like Wakanda. Like I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. I guess that's all.
Yeah. But let us know what your thoughts are on Atlantis, because I really am curious of where we as a society stand
on that. Yeah.
Because
I agree.
I don't know. I feel like maybe it just doesn't come up in pop culture as much anymore.
I think it's a 50-50 split at this point, probably. But yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please follow Goddess Behavior and leave a review. It helps other legendary mortals find us.
Questions are always welcome. No oracle required.
Stay bold.
Stay curious.
That's Goddess Behavior.